How's it going, guys? It's Mr. Lone Wolf, and today is another mod to test. I wanted to do a bit of missions today, but to be honest, this has been added. It's a truck. It's a truck I've been wanting a mod for a while because it's pretty hopelessly underpowered and everything as the in-game stock version. Yeah, this is the Derry 4520 Blueline X. There's a few the noticeable things. I mean, you've got a crane on it. It's nice that it's got the KRS Bandit crane. The tyres I've got on at the minute are the P16 tyres. Or sorry, they're the Cat 770G tyres, but I will be changing them at some point. It's got 55-inch tyres, so I believe they're a little bit bigger, but they're about as big as they can go, because those three rear axles are kind of practically touching. Yeah, so that's about as far as they can go in that respect. The main good thing is they've put the twin steer engine in, which originally that would have been my first port of call, really, is just to give it a stronger engine, because I'm pretty sure in the normal stock game has got about probably the second best horn in the game. Yeah, in the stock version, I believe it's got the same engine that the Royal's got, and the Royal in its own right has got plenty of power, but it's just a much smaller, lighter truck, and it just translates to a better truck overall. This thing really, especially now that this testing this modded version, it's got a hell of a lot of weight to it, and you're kind of fighting that a lot. So the first thing is to be said with the mod is it's definitely an improvement over the base Derry, so I can say that basically straight away. The mod isn't a disaster or a mishit or anything like that. It's an improvement. I think it could do with a little bit more improvement on top. I don't even think now that the twin steer is quite enough to get it where it needs to be. And that's more a reflection on how bad this thing was to begin with. I mean, for now, I'm testing. I tested 8-slot trailers up here, the super wide, heavy 5-slot flatbed thing or whatever it is. In the end, I went down to this trailer, which I do quite like. It's the 5-slot step deck one. I've brought a horse over vehicle with me because why wouldn't I? But yeah, as you can see, as I was going up the hill, it basically completely ran out of power. Just all the wheels stopped, and that was it. I put it in low. It took a few seconds, so I let the power wind up. And eventually it started crawling, but you can see now, I mean, consider I've only got the step deck trailer, 5 slots of cargo, that's the service things I think, so not insanely heavy. And yeah, a loaf, I mean, you see me carry a loaf with everything pretty much, so that's just standard issue. If it can't carry a loaf, then there's something seriously wrong. So basically, I did another loop, came back, I deleted 3 lots of cargo, so I've still got 2 bits of cargo, which I was doing the food delivery run. Again, just as a benchmark, I'm not really bothered about the mission, it was just to see how things are going. And even with the step deck, only 2 cargo and the loaf, it still died while going up there, I think in high, and had to drop it down to auto. Trying to get it back into high now, you can hear it's thinking about it, it basically dies again. I have to drop it back into auto. So my main sort of conclusions from it, it's a very good start that it has got the more powerful engine, but like I said, I mean, maybe it's just this thing is just too fat and heavy for its own good. In the game, partly I do like the weight of it though. I mean, I admit it could still be a bit too much, but I'm talking ballpark kind of, I like the weight of it. I wouldn't want it really to be half its weight or something, because one of the nice consequences of it weighing so much is it does feel quite realistic, and you sort of, it's nice to have a vehicle that has a bit of weight to it. Like I said, too many vehicles in this game suffer from just weighing nothing, like a crisp packet, and it just doesn't feel as good. However, just to put into perspective the difference, this is the Azov Iceberg. That's got the step deck, 5 cargo, the loaf. It ploughs up there, no problems. I'm still in high. I did try and swap. There's 2 special gearboxes for this. So I couldn't put the high range in this and have them as exactly the same. There is also a custom 9-geared gearbox for the Derry, which isn't bad, I have to say, but I don't like the high gears, just not fast enough for my liking in it. So plus I said for a while that I wanted to try the high range in the Derry, so I've mainly been messing around with that. But yeah, I mean, this just shows you that Derry was struggling to just crawl along and carry itself along. This Azov not only ploughed its way up there and past it, but just out of curiosity and fun, I flung a winch out, grabbed it. This thing barely stopped, just carried on ploughing along, and right now, I mean, that Derry will be running, but I think this the Azov's probably motoring faster than that, so it's mostly a dead weight. And yeah, this thing's absolutely just ripping it through the terrain. But it's not, you know, going hell for leather mode. It's still, I'm ticking along in high range. I mean, what, 10, 15 miles an hour or whatever, it's nothing too insane. And yeah, the amount of terrain this thing can chew up by comparison. And I mean, I put them side by side. They're the Azov does look a little bit bigger, but that has also got like that sort of fiberglass little cabin on the back, which wouldn't really add a whole lot of weight in real life. If you sort of took that off, they're not all that different, these two trucks. Or for a rough comparison anyway. And yeah, clearly there's just, that Azov has got a lot more horses. So even through here, just cutting through the water, I think I've still got the 2 cargo on, yeah, but I just think that, like, I've watched quite a lot of videos on this truck. It's an absolute pulling machine in real life. Like, the thing's a beast. It was built to tow tanks along on trailers, and yeah, video after video demonstrates it doing that very well. Or I've seen logging versions of this where they're hauling some pretty big logs, yeah, up dirt roads, mountain roads, all kind of dodgy roads. As I said the other week, I seen one where some big truck had crashed and flipped over sideways on the road. They needed to clear the road pretty quickly, so they just got one of these, stuck a winch onto the truck when it was still sideways on the road, and just dragged the whole thing off the side of the road like it was nothing. And yeah, this thing is just, well, not this is now the Azov Iceberg. But again, by comparison, I even went over a bit further to the left, so I had to go deeper. That's what she said. Yeah, and this thing, again, didn't drop out at high range. Because the nice thing with this, it doesn't drop out its high range very easily, so even if you get slowed down, it'll wheel spin more, but you might have time to build that back up, which I should be able to show you sort of now. That's why I've left a little bit of this in. I know it is supposed to be the Derry, and I've seen jumped in the Azov, but such is life. And yeah, you can see now, I'm going slow, but I'm still in high range. What's happening under the water is my wheels are wheel spinning, but it's not just automatically tapping out and saying, oh, that's the end of it. And then when I get out the other side of the river, there's enough grip and everything to see it was close there. It thought about it, but it dug deep, applied a bit of power, and it kept motoring along in high. So stuff like this is a lot more hassle-free. Yeah, just sort of motoring and driving along. I mean, sure, Loaf's probably got something to do with it. But yeah, I mean, if it was my mod to tweak again, like I said, I quite like the weight of it, but maybe, I don't know what the weight is off the top of my head or anything. Maybe it could do with like 10% or something shaved off it and just see what that difference that makes. If not, I'd go for boosting the engine a little bit more. Again, I don't want it to be insane or anything like that, but it still felt like it was tapping out a bit easy on the high. Even in the auto, it quite easily wants to jump just back down to first gear and tick along pretty slowly. I mean, even stuff like this, if you do get it into auto, I think this has got 7 gears, but I was testing it the other day and I was in 7th out of 7th, and it was motoring along through some pretty rough terrain, and yeah, it took a hell of a lot by the time it actually decided to drop down to first. And again, I'm about done with this. I was dragging them all back to the garage because I've got the off-road trailers on at the minute. I don't want to leave them everywhere for a change. I'll try to collect them all in. But yeah, even driving through that bit, I mean, this thing just absolutely muscles its way through most stuff. And the Derry I would really like. It strikes me as like a heavy hauling machine. It's kind of, that's the area of the game I'd like it to, yeah, I'd like it to be my go-to truck. I mean, again, got some cargo. It's only pretty standard, just a semi-sideboard trailer, 5 slots of cargo. Cutting through this muddy bit, as soon as I got over that little brow of the hill and into like the boggier stuff, it just immediately taps out. Doesn't want to know. Stick it into low range. I mean, yeah, we're crawling along there slowly. That's what I mean. Like, this mod is an improvement. Everything I'm saying now isn't a criticism of this mod. It's, as I said, it's more the fact that it shows how shockingly underpowered and bad this truck was to begin with. That even what the guy's done to make this what it is this thing still finding a way to, yeah, sort of dampen the mood a little bit. I mean, I'm not sure as well what the rev cap situation is. I suppose that's a possibility. I don't know, and this is just off the top of my head, I've thought of it right now. Maybe if this had some more severe rev caps on, if they've switched the engine, maybe it's still got some other rev or speed caps on it that are just not helping the situation. Because when you think, if it's got the twin steer engine, and the twin steer is a beast, like, that's one of the main reasons I really like the twin steer, is, yeah, because the engine on it is mad, and it's got just ridiculous amounts of power, and the twin steer's party trick is practically brute forcing its way through various bits of terrain that you'd kind of not expect, but if you just, yeah, momentum helps, and go flat out at something, and you can kind of get through there before it really starts to feel the effects of the terrain. This, like I said, it's just, even now going along here, I was trying a few times to slip it up into high, and yeah, it just wasn't really having it. It just kept dropping down to, like, wanting to stall again, I'd jump back down to auto. Managed to get it in high there as I was going down the little hill into the water, and yeah, now it's ticking along pretty nicely. Even with the engine power and stuff, as a rough, yeah, ballpark, I mean, maybe reduce the weight by 10% if that, up the engine by 15 to 25%, and sort of see what happens then. You can see at the minute now as well, I've gone back to the chained, like the mud version of the chained, and it was more, to be honest, because I kind of know what a lot of other vehicles are doing with the mud chained. Overall, the P16, the thing is that, like, those P16 tyres, or the 770G, sorry, those tyres have got upped tyre stats. And yeah, when I was using this thing with the 770G tyres, they were nice. I think they still have a little bit of rear steer on the go, even though they're dual rear tyres, which apparently in real life, everything that's got rear steer has to have a single tyre. I don't know how true that is, but I could imagine it being the case. Yeah, there's still a little bit of rear steer, but grip wasn't the major factor, so it didn't really matter jumping back to these tyres. And like I said, I just kind of a bit more of a standardised set that I can compare in my own mind to all the other stuff. Good news is, stuck a loaf on the roof, and yeah, the loaf finds a way. I was able to pack it, so I can take that with me. This now was, other than fun and good times, yeah, I was just seeing what the weight mechanics are saying, and to be honest, like I said, there is a lot of weight in this. I sort of feel like there's quite a lot of weight in the cab and body of the Derry. Not necessarily, well, there's probably still quite a lot in, like, the chassis and wheels, but yeah, I think that's maybe where the Derry's not helping itself either, because obviously the cab and everything's at the front half of the whole chassis. You've got a lot of weight pressing down on, say, them front alloys, the axle, but all your three rear axles have not got a whole lot of weight planted down on them. So you sort of start nose diving into the terrain a bit. But yeah, the back three axles haven't really got a whole lot of weight to actually help dig in and push you along. As you can see, I flew down that hill, the loaf popped off, because it's just, when you get over a certain amount, it like automatically unpacks it. Which is fair enough, but like a goddamn professional, he landed in the mud, he got back to his wheels on his own. You can even see there, as I'm climbing up this hill, there was moments where the winch goes slack, which means that even the loaf was flying up that hill. With the second engine, I might add, it's not even a fully upgraded loaf. And even that was climbing up there quicker than this thing could. So, I mean, I don't know, this is, I suppose, just ended up being something I've tested the last few days. I was curious by this point, will it actually make it up this little climbing the log section? And to be fair, yeah, it did. It was a little bit hit and miss, but the grip's there as far as that goes. And certainly the weight's there. You can definitely call that one now. So now, motoring along in high, and I know I have got a burst tyre, but I have done this before, this isn't my first time flying around with burst tyres, so I still just, it's one of those really. I mean, yeah, I'd recommend getting the mod, because like I said, it's certainly an improvement. It's just one of those, you got to drive it around and see how it makes you feel, really. But you can see now, like, it already, I was motoring along in high, and then it made me drop down to auto, and I did this on purpose. About now, I wanted somewhere slippy, that's what she said, stick it up into high, and I managed to get it wheel spinning instead of stalling. I wanted to do that, because then as I climb out of here, and the grip comes back, this thing just absolutely tapped out, then straight away went to stall mode instead of, again, like I said, that Azov iceberg as a comparison, and plenty of other stuff. Sort of digs deep, gives you a bit of extra power, and actually attempts it before just going, nope, it's not for me. Whereas this thing, yeah, it's very quick to just throw in the towel, and you're back to auto and stuff. And like I said, that custom gearbox it's got the 9 autos, which is nice. The high range was a bit slow for me, but it has got the 3 low ranges, which is always nice. And possibly needed as well, because I've got a feeling, yeah, you're going to be dropping this thing into high-low quite a lot. I mean, this is an example now. Motoring along on its own, it's pretty nice. It's pretty much good enough now on its own to go flying around, but it's still not very good at hauling heavy cargo, or even, you know, medium. I only had a step deck trailer and 2 lots of cargo, and it was still struggling then. Plenty of weight in it. I figured it'd nail those trees without any problem, and it did. To be fair, it's definitely a tree killing machine if you want it to be. Did pretty well through there, I have to say. Kind of carried a bit of my momentum with it. But yeah, maybe as well, if you could go as far as adjusting the weight characteristics, take a bit of weight, even if you didn't reduce the weight, take what I suspect is some weight out of the actual cab of the truck itself and add it more spread out through the chassis rather than just all at the front. And yeah, I mean, that's about where we are with it, really. Like I said, it's certainly upped it enough to where I could happily tick along on its own like it is now. There's enough there to motor its way through stuff, but yeah, anything more than just itself, and it's a little bit sad how quick it just I don't want to know anymore. Again, plenty of weight to it. It's smashed through that anti-terrorist barricade. Does, like, even since they've adjusted them and they're a lot more trollish, this thing practically just smashed through it and didn't even move. And again, that's what I mean. That's where the actual weight itself, if it was going to be reduced, I wouldn't personally want to do it much, because part of the weight does kind of have that more realistic feel to it. And I mean, yeah, this is cutting through Black River. Didn't expect miracles anyway. I'm sure, well, if I was in auto, it'd tick along through here at like first gear. In low range it's going alright. There wouldn't be an absolute chance in hell of doing high range, but that's fair enough. A lot of things are not too keen on high range through here. But yeah, I mean, overall, that's about it. It's got a little bit of a slow pace to it. I mean, if you do prefer the slow pace anyway, and you like messing around in the 3 low ranges, I'd say it's probably already enough, or close anyway. But yeah, for me, it's like, again, closer, certainly closer than it was, certainly a good result. But it's probably just needs a tad little more. But yeah, that's about it for today, though. I hope you enjoyed. I hope that helps. Thanks for watching. Thanks to my Patreon members, and I'll be back soon.